Hello, come in. Hi. George might be coming with you there, but leave the door open first. Come away in. You see, I'm still kind of delving in around my Arthurian stuff here. I'm just deeply immersed in it, so if you'll indulge me, we'll stay with the Arthur theme for a bit. Anyway, I always rather like the fact, although it's not a kind of European dragon, I've got this very beautiful dragon just in front of my Arthur things, which my mother gave me. It's a very fine Chinese dragon. This is broadly the collection of Arthuriana, and I've shown you one or two, but here's one I haven't shown you, which I've been dipping into again. And again, this is the Folio Society. It's a 3-volume set of a collection of stories, not just Mallory, but from other sources as well, divided into stories of Arthur, stories of Tristan and Isolde, and of course the one I'm really interested in at the moment, because I'm working on it myself, are the stories of the Holy Grail, all beautiful in a box set. And this, I bought this again second hand, and I bought the set for £25. So, you know, that's pretty extraordinary. I mean, it's less than a tenner for each book, a beautiful. But come over here, sit down, and I'll show you. So, let's just take one or two of them out. They've all got this lovely cover. Here's the opening Arthur one. So look at that, £25 the set. And they're illustrated by someone called Roman Pisarev. And you can see they're quite stylized, but they're rather beautifully done. And they're the full-on sort of traditional romantic illustration with the banners and the fairy tale castle. And look, there's Arthur pulling the sword from the stone. I can imagine if I'd been reading these, certainly as a teenager or a child, I would have spent ages looking at all the details of the armour, the wonderful Celtic knotwork. But as I say, the one I've been looking at and drawing on as a source book is the Holy Grail, which in this case, he's divided the book. That's just into basically stories of Percival and stories of Galahad. It's Galahad who eventually achieves the Grail quest. There's a lovely one of Percival. This amazing story. It doesn't come into Mallory, actually, I don't think, about going out into the snow and the beautiful swans flying and the drops of blood on the snow that become like his beloved's face. But this also has the sort of mystical things that happen at the final achievement of the Grail and the great heavenly visions, and heaven, as it were, descending to earth, the Grail itself as the meeting of heaven and earth. And of course it all ends towards the end with this beautiful image of the ships and sailing to Saris, and that's all rather beautifully done there as well. It's the great moon and the sails. So I've been endeavouring, as you know, to make a sort of ballad version of it, and I've already read you a couple of the parts. I'm working on this first cycle, which takes us from the childhood of Galahad right through to the coming of the Grail to Camelot and the beginning of the quest. I have it more or less planned out, this first part, as a cycle of 6 ballads, and I've read 2 of them to you, and I thought you might like to hear the third. I write them out, as I think I showed you in my manuscript book here, and then of course, you know, I have to see them laid out, so I type them through my laptop, but I always feel it has to pass through my pen before it gets to my computer. And in fact, even here you'll see, in fact I have to do this, I've no sooner printed it out than I suddenly think of other things or put a new verse in. Anyway, you may remember that last time what happened was Lancelot had been taken out by this mysterious lady and found the chantry on the green and knighted this fair young man, not knowing that it was his son. Knighted Galahad, and then he wanted to bring Galahad straight back to Camelot, but Galahad wanted to remain in the chapel and pray for a little longer. And of course you may remember Guinevere had exacted a promise from Lancelot that he would be back by the evening. He set off on the eve of Pentecost, the day before, and he knights Galahad in the very early morning on Pentecost, and then of course he has to ride back. And my last verse in the previous ballad was, For Lancelot loved Guinevere, love would not let him bide. Love would not let him bide, but ride, ride till his love was at his side, and far and near the light burned clear, they lit that Whitsuntide. So now I take the thread of the story of what happens when Lancelot gets back on his own to keep the feast on the evening of Whitsunday of Pentecost. And this section of my story is called The Seige and the Sword. And it goes like this. 'Twas Whitsun dusk at Camelot, freshets and torches burned, and stewards kindled kindly flames when Lancelot returned. King Arthur and his Guinevere were coming from the mass. They welcomed Lancelot and asked what things had come to pass. He told them of the goodly squire, the chantry on the green, and how he'd dubbed the fairest youth that he had ever seen. And then they strode into the hall, made ready for the feast, where Arthur was to welcome all, the greatest and the least. But as they entered in the hall, they saw a sudden change. The great round table Merlin wrought and patterned with his deepest thought to be the heart of Arthur's court was set with letters strange. The one untaken seat, the siege called Perilous of old, was set about with strange new words, written in shining gold, the siege called Perilous, whereof the wizard Merlin said, who takes this seat must lose himself, and gain no lady nor no wealth, for he will do his good by stealth, and heal our wounds and bring us health, the one on whom this quest is laid. And Lancelot, the bravest knight, strode swiftly to the place, and read the writing to the king with wonder in his face. 400 years and 50 since the passion of our Lord, 400 years and 50 since the victory of the word, 450 winters since he came to heal the world. The chosen night will come at last, the siege will be fulfilled. This is the day, cried Lancelot, this feast of Pentecost, 400 years and 50 since he ransomed all the lost. My king and all my fellow knights, we come unto our fate. Cover the words with cloth of gold until we see what is foretold, until he comes, foreseen of old, the one for whom we wait. And even as he spoke, there came a squire to the door, saying, we have seen a marvel that was never seen before. Come down, King Arthur, to the port, come down unto the quay, for you will see a wondrous thing no king did ever see. They went out through the twilight, and down unto the quay, the king, the knights, the ladies all, a goodly company. And there they saw a marvel, and their eyes were opened wide. A rich red block of marble was floating on the tide. A heavy block of marble, all deeply veined, blood red. And standing up from out of it, a fair rich sword was set. And on its pommel precious stones, and round its blade in gold, a strange and subtle lettering still waiting to be told. I marvel, spoke a courtier, now by the holy blood, how is it that this heavy stone still floats above the flood? They pulled the marble to the quay, and read the letters there, and wondered at the mystery so sudden, strange, and fair. None shall ever draw me hence, save only him who's called to wield me as a blade of light, to ride and set the world to right, and he shall be the purest knight, the greatest in the world. Then Arthur spoke a word in pride. The best are gathered here, the flower of this world's chivalry are drawn from far and near. Surely, my good Sir Lancelot, this blade belongs to you. Come forward now and seize the hilt, my loyal friend and true. Alas, not I, said Lancelot, and inly sighed with ruth. He knew his love for Guinevere had turned aside his truth. And then a word of prophecy came sudden on his heart. He spoke in tones that made the crowd to draw back and apart. Whoso essay to draw this blade, whoso essay and fail, shall take a wound from this same sword that none may ever heal. Let no man rashly so essay, the blade is perilous and fey. But know ye all that this same day begins, attempt it well who may, the venture of the Grail. But the king turned unto Gawain, nephew, will you essay? I fear it, but for your good grace and kingship I obey. With that he seized upon the hilt and pulled with might and main, but all his strength would not avail, so fast it did remain. Oh, you will rue, said Lancelot, the hour you touched that hilt, for it will touch you in its turn, so sore your very blood will burn, nor all the prayer and grace you spurn will purge you of your guilt. Then Arthur turned to Perceval, will you essay, my friend? And Perceval spoke frank and free, I'll keep good Gawain company. We all begin in mystery, but no man knows his end. He tried, but could not move the blade for all his mastery, and turned unto the king and said, this blade is not for me. Then Kay, the seneschal, spoke out, we have seen marvels here. Let us return unto the feast for comfort and good cheer. Let be whatever prophecy, what dark foreboding words, whilst we have grace and courtesy with ladies and with lords. And so they turned unto the hall, both noble man and priest. The trumpets rang, the choir sang, and they began the feast. Of course, there is more to happen, because somebody is going to turn up even while they're feasting, and we'll leave that for another episode. We might look at some other things in the meantime, but thank you for indulging me. As you can see, I'm deeply into, these are the stories I grew up with, and in a sense the whole nation grew up with. They're the great myth of our kingdom, and it just seems the right time at this stage in my life somehow to take up those stories and try and tell them afresh. Anyway, thanks for dropping by, and good to see you.